On the air, episode 142. Slate.
Live from the Loft 100 Studios in sunny San Diego, California. On the air is on the air. And look at this live studio audience, for God's sake. My God. Don't you people have jobs?
All right.
Nothing.
Awesome.
Did you hear Trip fart up there when he did that? It was like,
Yeah.
Yeah, Trip, no paycheck this week.
Give it up for the live
My
studio
gosh,
audience.
you guys, thanks for coming.
And you know what? You know what's cool? When we get celebrities in the audience.
Well, thank you. Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for Sammy Hagar, who came in
I was
today.
going to say that. I can't believe you stole that from me.
All right, thanks, Sammy.
On my children, I was going to say the same thing.
Sammy was at Bruce Springsteen. Did you like the concert?
Yeah. Pretty well.
Cool.
That's the first time, if I'm not mistaken, that he's been to San Diego.
No.
Oh.
Bruce Springsteen.
Thanks for killing my reality. I thought he didn't come to San Diego.
He was there when I was a kid, 1981, and I remember the day I was with my friend Richard Handline.
Is
This
he
was
in the
back in
audience? Are you gonna
1981.
introduce him?
This was back in 1981, and my friend said, "Hey, Tommy, let's go to the sports arena and see Bruce Springsteen. He plays for like 4 hours, and he even takes like a halftime break." And I go, "No." And then he goes,
An intermission.
"Let's go." And then I went to my mom and I asked my mom if I could borrow $12, and that's how much the show was, $12.
Was it really?
Yeah.
Which means the face price was what, $6? Do you remember back in the day? So have you guys been to a concert lately? Has anybody? So what did you pay? What'd you pay to get in there? Who'd you see?
Kurt Springsteen.
You know, it doesn't take me long. I mean, So what'd that set you back? Like what would? Like what?
Embarrassed to say.
What was the stab on that thing?
The stamp?
How much?
How much?
At least 200 each. At least.
And were you close?
No.
Were you close to the sports arena?
Yes.
Do you guys remember?
Unless you're sitting behind the stage, there's really not a bad seat in the house.
Yeah.
Except for all the bad seats in the house. Do you remember when Tower Records was across the street?
Yes.
And Foggy's Notion?
Yes.
I mean, seriously.
I mean, that was the day, because you would go into the concert at the sports arena and you would have a good time and party, and then when you walked out, the location to find was Tower Records.
Foggy's Notion and Tower.
And that's where you met all your friends.
That was your true north, wasn't it,
Yeah.
Tommy? It was actually south. What about, that was the days when Levitz was around.
Yeah, everything was there.
Dr. Leventhal. Remember that?
Yes.
I have to say that the sports arena has a lot of memories for you and I.
Oh, yeah.
Is it just me, or how many? Did you guys ever go see the Rockets play basketball? The Rockets. I know you did. San Diego Rockets.
And then the Conquistadors. I mean,
The Qs.
yeah.
For some, like, I never got so plowed as at this. I was at a Oral Roberts conference, drinking. I'm not kidding. Every time I went there, I was like, I went to see The Cure there, the worst concert in the world. And I remember, like, I had 2 beers. I was like, I have to say, we have to do something about a sports arena, because right now we have the Padres.
Yeah.
We have the Aztecs basketball.
Yes.
We have a combination of minor league baseball, Elkhorn Speedway, Demolition Derby, and Gladiators with the San Diego Seals lacrosse.
We have everything, the Legion.
We're basically Sacramento right now.
Yeah.
I mean, what happened to the glory days of the Chargers, the Padres, the Gulls, the Sockers, Julie V?
Yeah.
So anyway, I'm just, we suck, don't we?
Well, we have 3 people that can talk about that.
I love that we're talking about sports, because 3 of my favorite people are here. And by the way, I will tell you, one of them is a legacy in San Diego. Yeah. And I just want to hug him. Yeah. And I love to hear him talk about stories. So do your job. Let's go.
All right.
Roll.
Well, let's bring out the first guest, which is Woodsy from 97.3 The Fan.
brother. Good to see you, man. Oh my goodness.
Welcome.
How long have we been trying to get you on the show? Come on.
It's been a while. It's been a while.
First time.
It's my first time. Thanks for having me. This is an incredible setup. Incredible.
Dude, you and I go back a ways.
We do.
But quite by accident. And I love the fact that you were a sales guy at the radio station and ended up on the air.
Yeah.
How did that happen?
The dream. I met these guys in Dallas, Texas, where I was working in sales, and they said, "Why are you in sales? You belong on the air." And I said, "Well, I've never even thought about that. No one's ever given me a shot." And then they ended up moving here, and a lot of weird stuff happened.
Was that the Mikey show?
Yeah, yeah. And then Mikey needed to build an entirely new show, so I got a random phone call, and he said, "You want to move to San Diego and be on the radio?" And that was 14 years ago, just like that. That was.
And
exactly
you were
what he said.
selling car dealerships and like you were not.
At that time I was doing I was running a recruiting team of internet marketers. I mean, it was a really nice
Yeah,
company.
that sounds credible.
Yeah, very credible. Very credible.
But how do you go from being a salesperson,
Yeah.
you know, in radio, I assume,
Yeah.
and then all of a sudden today, you open up a mic, you hit a mic button, and you talk nonstop. How does that happen?
You learn how to fake it until you make it. So that's
Dude, did you listen to the Mikey show? You were on the air,
Yeah,
right?
I
remember listening to you, and it was like, God, this guy. Who's this guy?
it felt natural from day one.
What is the greatest bit of all time on the radio? It's called the when you would call people and they'd
Oh, the incorporator.
The incorporator. Do you know who the incorporator is? Tommy, use the word segment in a sentence.
Well, did you do a segment?
Boom.
We did, right.
Tell us about the incorporator.
So-
That's what made you sort of the guy.
Yeah, so we used to do it when we were in recruiting. You get bored, you make 100 phone calls a day, and so your buddies would lean over the queue and they would lean down and be like, use or something in a sentence, and you're like, with a client or a prospective client.
Just a message.
So you're talking just to amuse ourselves. So I took that bit, I brought it on the radio. We used to call businesses, and I would do it, and they would feed me words.
And
it
back
was
then,
fun.
on the radio, the good old days, you can call a business and have
Yeah,
fun.
that's
Now
exactly
you gotta
right.
Oh, that's right.
Now you got to get insurance forms.
But man, you
exactly
were
right.
smooth as a gravy sandwich. I mean, you were like, if I said defraculator.
Yeah, be like, listen, I mean, you need to make sure that your defraculator is all up to speed. No, and I think those jobs that I had where I had to talk on the phone, you know, there was a job I worked where they would put this is how much time you talked on the phone. They would chart it. And they'd say, you made 75 calls yesterday for 3 hours of phone time. Well, I took all that, and when I got this opportunity to do this gig, I mean, you guys know how the business is. It's crazy. You got to swim upstream. And I grabbed it, and I never let go. I just said, I'm not leaving. So,
But the point is, you could do a keynote speech on sales today.
yeah, today.
I feel like
Easily.
you could jump right back in.
Yeah, I feel like that's always been for me. If the radio gig goes sideways, I'll be fine. I'll go back and sell something.
Do you feel like you're a radio personality, or do you feel like you're a ex-salesperson?
I feel like I'm a radio personality. I feel like I was.
'Cause you
always
are.
You
meant to
are.
be.
Because I love you. I mean, you
are. So congratulations on your success.
Thank you.
As a matter of fact, you'll love the guests coming up, both of them.
Know them both very well.
Oh yeah. As a matter of fact, let's bring out good old number 7, Kurt Bevacqua.
Oh my God, my favorite guy. What could go wrong?
Come on out, Kurt.
Good to see you. Hi.
Okay. What's up, brother? Don't you remember looking at Kurt Bevacqua on the field going, you know what? I like the cut of his jib. And he was exactly the SOB you thought he was. We become friends. Thanks, man. Good to see you, man.
Good to see you too.
All right. How's the old pros doing?
while.
Yeah, it has. Where you been?
I've been close. Yeah. It's
But
not very far from here.
Arms like, but not here.
Exactly. Haven't been to the new studios.
What do you think? Oh, that's right. You haven't. What do you think? Built them for you.
Really nice.
Do you still think of your days, your... Let me bring you back to a gentler time. The year was 1981, and a very chubby Bobby Sullivan, ignoring the jeers of the other kids at Curie Elementary School, watched I mean, look, let's face it, Kurt. You have a mouth and you like to run it, and you're a little lippy. And you know what? We always knew so, and I love that about you. I wish you had done radio when you were on the Padres. I mean, you literally are one of my favorite guys. And I don't think people knew Mr. Nice Guy, Magnum. You looked like Magnum PI. But let's face it. I mean, I honestly wish that you were on the radio in 1981, 82, 83.
Did they have radio back then in 81, 83?
Just starting.
Yeah. Transition.
Well, Tommy was on it.
Yeah, that's true.
Everybody that's here was in the broadcasting at one time. I mean, I used to do the Padres pre- and post-game shows. Yep. But in this day and age, you can't say what you want to say.
Sure you can.
Here we go.
You can.
Well,
You just have to be
The Bill Burr of sports.
Yeah, but I'm not gentler. So
For example.
I had
I knew it coming.
For example, do you think Ohtani allegedly bet?
I can't see how he didn't. But I think he might have went in partners with this guy.
Named Pete Rose.
And just said, no, with his interpreter.
Pete Rose
I
didn't
think-
have an interpreter.
That was so good.
And maybe he should have. By the way, who was your favorite manager in baseball, and why is it Tommy Lasorda?
It's not Tommy Lasorda. He's a fat little guy.
Wasn't that the joke?
Dick Williams.
Really?
Dick Williams was my favorite manager. And you know why? Because I knew he believed in me.
Was he a vociferous guy?
He could be.
Really?
Yeah,
He seemed like Wilford Brimley. You know, the guy that sells the...
diabetes guy.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
He he wasn't the most pleasant person the first year or so. And he stopped drinking a little, as much as
So you encouraged him to keep going.
yeah. I instigated the hell out of the '84 brawl with him on the bench
It's one of the best moments in baseball.
It really is.
because we weren't gonna. There was just talk of plucking him and plucking Royster, who was a leadoff hitter, and it being over with. And I went over to Dick and I go, "You got to get that Perez every time he comes up."
In the dugout?
Oh yeah.
Wasn't there sort of a hierarchy, or no?
Well, I was down here.
Yeah, but you were still pretty... But,
Yeah, Dick was.
but yet you wouldn't put your finger in his chest and said...
But oh no, I didn't do that. I just went over and, God, I've seen Perez do that so many times. What's he trying to do? We got an 8.5 game lead. He's trying to get our leadoff man, the guy that's the spark plug for our offense. We got to make him pay. It's not Royster.
I love that was going on.
When there's when the dugouts, clear and they run to the mound and fight, when you're running from your dugout to the mound, do you scope someone out? Do you go, okay, I'm getting that guy?
Or
How
are
do
you
where
just
do you
going...
go? Where do you go?
No, we have somebody in mind.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's precipitated by what happened before, because that day we were 4 times we were on the field. Yeah. The first time, Champ and I went after Perez.
Okay. Did you get him?
But he was pretty good. He backed himself up against the screen with his bat in his hand. Wow. And then by that time, a lot of players got around us, so we couldn't get to him then. But that was a fun day.
Is it the same today, in terms of that sort of?
No.
It's not.
No, you still got the Dominican pitchers hitting people because that's the way they grew up, and we all knew it. That's the Juan Marchels of the world, the Joaquin Andújars, the Pascual Perezes. Those guys are all from the Dominican. That's not a coincidence.
So
They're not afraid.
what's the rhythm of that? So something happens, somebody gets some chin music. I mean, for the rest of us, I just see a guy hit by a pitch, and all of a sudden, I can't tell the difference between when it's not good and when it's good. Like, what's the timbre? What is the rhythm of what has to? Like, how do we get there? And how can we?
When do you charge? It's below the belt, you're fine. Down below is fine. Anything up,
Yeah.
and then especially up above the neck, the other team needs
The back.
That's
right?
Yeah, that's where But you know, back when I played, if a guy hit a home run,
You guys threw at everybody all the time.
Wait a second. That's the bar?
Yes.
If a guy hit a dinger?
Yes.
no, if a guy hit a home run, the next hitter would get hit.
Yes. They threw at everybody back then.
This is how America should run. Can I say, so what happens if, what is up there, because he plays baseball, what if just one gets away from you?
It happens, right?
Doesn't matter.
No. You know.
Really?
Yes.
At almost every level, you know.
know.
You know if it was
Wait,
intentional.
remember Bill Spaceman Lee?
Sure.
He didn't know. I mean, half the time he was,
Oh, he knew.
even when he was just tripping on shrooms and he was like,
He could put it anywhere he wanted to, anytime he wanted to. He knew
You
exactly
want to
where
get
that ball
some
was.
joy out of life?
Yes,
I
I
know
do.
you do
I
all
do,
the
yeah.
time.
Yeah.
You need to have Bill on your show someday.
listen, Bill Lee is,
He
my,
is.
my favorite Bill Lee memory. Bill Lee was a pitcher for the Expos, Bill Spaceman Lee. And I was a kid, I think probably 18 years old, when we could bring jugs into the stadium, have them filled, and there was bat night. What could go wrong? I'm sitting in, I think they called it Templetown in left field. And Billy walks up to an enthusiastic fan who was leaning over the bullpen. And he trades a baseball for something that looked suspiciously like 3 joints.
Right.
Just saying. Wanders off the field, and about 4th inning, he's like, just called on.
Oh.
It was not a straight line, I can tell you that. And it was not the first time we've seen that. But Bill Lee is like, who's the Dodger that's like that? Jay Johnstone. Very similar with respect to how the hell they get in baseball. I think the current, not with the drug use and the craziness, but is Garrett Stubbs of the Phillies. Love that guy. He's about 3'4", and he is the coach of the bench, and they're not going to get rid of him because of the fact that that he can move the needle, right?
Yeah, glue guy.
Talk to me, Kurt. Wait, you're holding something back. I can tell.
No, I was just thinking about Spaceman because he, I mean, I've actually talked to him in the last 3 or 4 months, and he's traveling with the Savannah Bananas.
Makes sense.
Do you know what that is?
Perfect sense.
Have you
know what
heard
that
of the
is?
Savannah Bananas?
Incredible.
What's he
They're
telling?
a
It's
baseball
fantastic.
team that has no business being on the field.
Come on.
Oh, it's ridiculous.
Oh, man.
But these are legitimate baseball. Talk about it, was he?
My kids love it. My 6-year-old son, Bo, thinks it's the coolest thing he's ever seen,
Okay.
and that's what it's
Okay.
for. It's
That's
for
right.
kids. But, I mean, they're really talented. They hit a ball at the outfield, the guy will do a backflip and catch the ball in midair, which I
Ozzie
know.
Smith?
Yeah, I mean, in the middle of
I
the
used to do that all the time.
So let's do this. After the break, we're going to bring out someone who actually should be in the Padres Hall of Fame.
So, how we doing? How we doing?
Oh, good.
How we doing?
Fantastic.
You know what I'm talking about? Padres. How we doing?
Oh, I mean, we'll
What do you
see.
think?
It's a marathon, not a sprint, right, KB?
It's going to be interesting.
It's always interesting here. Always.
Where do we stand in payrolls?
Lower than last year.
Lower than last year. About 90 million
Like 90
shy.
million.
But maybe compared to
Top 10, top 12. Not bad. Not bad. Better than you guys were used to back in the day, I think.
Well, speaking of the Padres.
wait. What was your opening contract? How much?
10-5.
Was it
10,500.
1920?
Not a month either.
What year was this?
71.
Yeah. Well,
Radio wages.
he's big in the 70s. Now he's big in the 70s. What was your biggest contract?
200.
Wow. My gosh.
Yeah, I got good. I thought I was stealing money. Yeah.
Well, you were, by the way.
Yes, I was.
Just not basis. All right, let's roll.
Well, this next guy, I believe, should be in the Padres Hall of Fame.
I believe so too.
Ladies and gentlemen, he's an icon. He has a voice. He's a legend. Give it up for Mr. Bob Chandler.
Right?
really.
I just feel better that you're here. Remember when he was on the air? You're like, I just feel more comfortable now.
It was before my time, but I've
It's like
heard
listening to
nothing
PBS.
but-
Oh, yeah.
It's like listening to PBS. Like, okay, I feel safe. I remember Aztec basketball, and you and I did not know this, but we sat across the aisle from each other for like 2 years.
Yeah.
And then he looked left, I looked like, what's going on? Are you still a big sports fan locally?
Oh yeah, sure. I still have those same tickets for Aztec basketball.
Yeah, I lost those in the.
I mean, listen to that voice. It takes you back.
Nostalgia. Listen, I love being on with these guys. You know why?
Why?
Baseball people.
Oh, yeah.
I'm a baseball guy. I love the game.
Hey,
Kurt was always a great interview, and I enjoy these guys in the morning because
Yes.
they're talking a lot of baseball.
A lot of baseball.
When did you start, Bob?
Well, I started my first job in radio. I was broadcasting the high school football game of the week in the Grossmont High School District.
San Diego.
Over, yeah.
Okay.
I got $10 a game. It's when I was in college.
Same year as Kurt,
State.
apparently.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to read something to you. All the broadcasters I've worked with, I've learned more baseball from Bob than I could ever say. And I was the football basketball guy when I went with the Padres, and Bob was instrumental in helping me through those early years. A simply great partner, Ted Leitner.
Wow.
Last time I was on your show.
Yes,
Ted
exactly
was
right.
getting inducted into the Padres Hall of Fame.
Was that in his book?
No, that was just a text he sent
He
me.
just calls you to say.
Yeah.
So, how did you go from Grossmont High School football to being one of the most iconic voices in San Diego sports history?
Well, you know, my dad was in the Navy, so we'd travel every 3 years. He'd get assigned someplace different. So I graduate from high school in Newport, Rhode Island, and I'm a pretty good baseball player. But I said, you know, Dad, of all the places we lived, I like San Diego the best. I'd like to go to college at San Diego State. So that's 3,000 miles away from Newport. So I'm going to be a great baseball player. And it took about 10 minutes on the field at San Diego State to realize, you know, these guys in Southern California, they play all year round.
Built
They're
different.
pretty good.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to be a Major League Baseball player. So the next best thing for me was to be either a broadcaster or a writer. But if I'm a writer, I have to write. And so
That's way too hard. Listen, there's a reason we chose this profession. Too much work, man.
And then what happened?
So, I used to take a tape recorder out to San Diego State's baseball games and practice doing play-by-play.
Wait, practice?
And the coach was a guy named Charlie Smith. And I would take the tape in to old Charlie, and he would listen to it. And I remember him going, "Oh no, Bob, you can't say that. You can't do that." So I had a chance to make a lot of mistakes doing that.
What was the sports station way back when? Was there a sports station specifically in San Diego?
No, there wasn't. But a big break for me. I started off in broadcasting in San Diego. You don't get to start off doing exactly what you want.
No, it's usually the receptionist, right?
So I was a newsreel cameraman writer at Channel 8. It was a great job, driving a news wagon, covering events.
May I ask what year that was?
Yeah, it was 1961.
Wow.
Yeah, black and white television.
Yeah, Bob Dale.
Ray Wilson.
Hobo Kelly?
Regis Philbin, Harold Keene.
Yeah, Regis was on Kogo or something, or Channel 8.
No, he was on both at different times. Yeah. So then I went to Channel 10. Do you remember Al Coupe?
Yeah.
Oh, come on.
Yes.
Sports
That was
of
the
the
year,
Day
that was
with
the year
Al
Nate
Coupe.
Colbert. Nate Colbert was on the Padres, and Al Coupe was
Oh,
there.
yeah, well. So Cooper's the sports director at Channel 10, and he hired me to come over to be his number 2 guy. So we were the first 2-man sports team in San Diego. So it gave me a chance to get on the air and do sports. And,
Was it just Padres, or was it Padres, Chargers, Rockets,
well,
Gulls?
this was just daily sportscasts, But then from Channel 10, there was a broadcasting company from Dallas, Texas, came in and bought a TV station that was dormant. It was Channel 39, but then it was,
KCST.
yeah, well, they became KCST, but it was something else before KARR, K-A-R-R.
Wow.
The guy that ran it knew a lot about hotels, but nothing about broadcasting. And so the station was dormant. So the people came in. Now this is 1968. And they determined the people in San Diego really like sports. Yeah. So let's try to do a lot of live sports and that'll get them to learn how to get UHF. Because television sets.
UHF, remember?
Man.
Oof.
Man.
I remember oof.
Yeah, you didn't have, the TV sets didn't have to have UHF channels. They were just channels 2 through 13.
Ultra
You had to
high
get a special
frequency.
antenna. So they thought, we'll do sports because people in San Diego like sports. So I had a chance. They hired me as sports director to come over. So I'm like a kid in a candy store. Man, I'm doing Charger football preseason games and a coach's show with
That's right. John Hadel, Lance Allworth, back in those days, right?
Did San Diego Rockets NBA basketball, Don Kogis and Elvin Hayes, and then we did San Diego Padre baseball, which was my wheelhouse. That's what I wanted to do. I did San Diego State football, basketball, baseball, track and field, and rugby.
Well, if it was
In other words, they were filling it. This is television. And it eventually worked. They got really good ratings on some of the stuff, like the Charger games.
Yeah.
We did a game live from Miami, Florida, and I'm loving this.
So, but it was 69. We didn't have a stadium yet. This was Balboa.
Yeah, we
Stadium,
did.
right? Did we?
Yeah.
69?
Yeah. The stadium, the vote to build a stadium was in November of 1965. 73% of San Diegans voted in favor of it.
$25 million taxpayer money. Beautiful architectural awards.
Yeah.
It made San Diego a nicer place to live,
Yeah.
even without the Chargers.
So
With
it
all
opened up in '67 with a Charger game against the Detroit Lions, and San Diego State played there, and then baseball.
You're an icon. That's why I believe you should be in the Padres Hall of Fame.
Bob
You guys
Chandler,
agree?
come on!
You agree?
Right? So good to see you, man. I love having you here. Coming up, we got to talk about Jerry Coleman. We got to talk about the best Padre game in the history of San Diego. Come on.
I got the question.
You like that, don't you? You like? I know you do. It gets you right back in the back of the jaw, doesn't it? I know that.
All right. All right.
Are you telling me to settle down? Because Woodsy and I have started an interpretive dance group. I'm not going to tell you the name because we wouldn't.
So it's 1984. Everyone talks about Garvey's home run, but they also talk about Wednesday, October 10th, 1984. Where were you on that night?
After Foggy Session.
I was recovering from the night before. and not what you think.
Aston Mining Company?
No, I got thrown out of third base the night before, leading off the inning with a double into the right field corner. And nobody puts these two things together, but we had just talked about Kurt Gibson never hitting the cutoff man in the dugout.
And what did he do this time?
What does he do? Well, of course, it was me. He comes up, throws a perfect strike to Lou Whitaker. And Lou Whitaker didn't even know I was going, and he said if he hadn't heard the crowd, that he would have never whirled him through to third.
Okay,
So
so
it's all of your faults.
I love the collective faults. For our audience watching, explain cutoff man so people can understand. Because my moms are, hey Bob, did Kurt Bevacqua say something about cutoff? Is he cutting his hair? Are you still getting your hair cut? Is he cutting your hair? Can you explain what that means?
Well, a cutoff man is either the second baseman or a shortstop that goes into the outfield, a short outfield position most of the time, when a ball's hitting the gap or down the right field line, to relay the throw.
Yeah, because if you don't have an arm like Woodsy,
Right.
right? I mean, that's the bar.
I need two cutoff men, actually, one behind him.
Well, there should be.
There should be two.
There should be a trailer
Trailer.
so that if the cutoff throw is not perfect, then the cutoff man lets it go and the trailer gets it.
So why did Gibby choose to use the cutoff man that day? Was it strategic? Or?
No, because the last time I saw him, which was just a year ago, he said it was the first time I hit the cutoff man.
So the first time he did basic baseball, basically, right?
So I went from being the GOAT, going home that night, really being upset.
Okay.
Not necessarily. I wasn't happy I got thrown out of third, but I was happy. I wasn't happy that I was made the GOAT. Bob remembers this. And I vowed that I'm going to kick some butt the rest of the World Series.
I'm going to kill him.
So-
I'm going to burn his house down to the ground.
So take us to that moment. It was a Wednesday night, 57,000 people watching.
Yeah.
What happens?
Well, we're losing, and I come up with men on first and second, and I think Nettles was on second base, and Joe Graggiola made the comment on the air that, or Vince Scully did, that I'm going to have to hit a ball more than just a base hit.
So in your mind, are you trying to just advance the runner, or are you trying just whatever you can do? What is your objective?
You know what? I look back on that at bat. I had nothing in mind.
No.
Hit it hard.
I was just
Yeah.
trying to hit the ball.
Rope it
hard.
up, whatever you can do.
There wasn't. I certainly wasn't trying. You could tell by my reaction, I wasn't trying to hit a home run.
Actually, Kurt, one could say you weren't even trying.
I was just trying to hit the ball.
And so what happens? You hit the ball.
Just so happened, yeah, he hung a breaking ball, and I did what you're supposed to do with hanging breaking balls. You know, hit them hard, hit it high, and that's why I paused and kind of
Watched it.
lollygagged going down to first base, because the ball was up in the air for a long time. And it came down in some seats, and that was, and you know what? I got those seats.
Do you really?
Oh yeah.
Now, were they the burnt orange, or were they the brown seats?
Well, they were the blue seats by that time.
Oh, okay, that's right.
When they demolished Qualcomm, we're not hearing anything about seats.
Yeah.
And I'm going, wait a second.
I remember that.
So I
In fact, I remember that. That was
I
the
started
story.
calling San Diego State. Nobody knew anything. Yeah. And I go, okay, I'm driving down the
I was gonna say, so you took you took your Ford F-150, drove down there and collected them.
I drove down to the stadium, and by that time, demolition was going on.
Right. No.
And I started talking to the security guard at the gate. He let me in. I threw my name out there, showed him my gold card.
The name he used was Tommy Sublime.
And I start going. And they brought me in and welcomed me with open arms.
Good.
And the guy that was the general contractor for the company who was doing the demolition dated my daughter.
Oh, it's no brainer.
Unlikely story.
Got to give you the seat.
That's what he said.
First of all, do you remember that play?
Do I remember that play? Yes, I remember the play. You know, Kurt hit a lot of line drives. But hitting this one high in the air was not like him. But he was so strong, it carried into the seats. But that pirouetting around the bases, I'll never forget.
I don't remember that.
One time. What was it like, Kurt, being a vortex figure in San Diego, a celebrity? Because you were Mr. Dependable. It was like, oh great, we knew when he was up to bat. What was it like when you're going to D.O. Mills, for example, or TGI Fridays, or Lair's Greenhouse at the time, when you're out
Bullies.
there? Yeah, Bullies.
Yeah.
What was it like
It was
back
cool. My name would be on the table.
then? Oh, no kidding.
And it was cool. No, people treated me well here. I mean, I've been in San Diego since I got traded here in '79, and I've been here ever since.
So, was it ever bothersome? Because you guys were the thing in San Diego in terms of, recognizable folks, celebrities, and so on and so forth. I mean, to the tune of as popular as Junior Seau, I would suggest. Did it ever get obtuse? Did it ever get intrusive?
Never. But we had to become the thing, and that didn't happen until. We felt good about ourselves in '83, but really in '84 was when things really clicked, and KFMB did their thing, and the team was so cohesive, and we were a bunch of guys that enjoyed each other, and even guys that at times we didn't get along.
Like who?
Alan Wiggins. I was just going to say.
Alan Wiggins would piss everybody off.
Was it just because he was young and cocky?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but I tell you what, Wiggy was a smart kid. He really was. We were playing cards on the plane one day. I went literally over 2 rows of seats to get there.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
Is it
he
true?
Just dove on him.
Is it true that when he got drafted, he forgot his shoes and glove and had to borrow something from one of you guys he had going? Do you remember that story?
No, but it doesn't surprise me.
Kurt Bevacqua, come on. Legend. All right, much more to come. We're going to talk about Woodsy's baseball experience.
Yes.
Of course, our story between us. And you have a connection to a very famous San Diego media personality. All right. Is that other kind of love we have? Come on. The kind of love so good it's bad. That's only a new song.
Yeah.
I wrote that song. Maybe with the help of Rome from Sublime, but still. So that song, Champagne Problems. We haven't released Champagne Problems, but we wrote it. We were pandering to try to get it picked up by a TV thing, and so we're getting some interest from a TV show. The problem is we have to rewrite the lyrics. Champagne Problems, living on a bender all day wrong, drinking just to solve them, even though we both know that they're wrong. We have to change the lyrics to that.
Yeah.
Because it's a kid show.
A little more friendly.
Oh yeah, if it's a kid show.
It's a Sesame Street. Woodsy, you and I somehow connected. I don't remember because I was on Kogo Radio for so long, and you were on with another company. But I would listen to you guys, and I don't know how we connected, but
Probably
I remember
social media.
Probably so. That's right. You twitface.com,
Yeah.
the one that me and Rusty Nails invented.
Yeah.
You and I connected because I knew that you were. I don't know how many times I said a stupid joke. I knew you were a musician, and I thought, I got more guitars I can handle. I can unload a guitar. Here's a sucker.
Yeah.
I remember that you, and we'll talk about your lovely wife and her family, but you were in trouble as always.
Yes.
You realize they're still working on us, right? It's always working on you, never on them.
Correct. Yeah, absolutely. I always have to do the work
Well, you're
on
like
myself.
a building with scaffolding around it.
It was during the pandemic. My wife was pregnant with our second baby boy, Taylor, and I only had one guitar, and it was my Fender Strat, which is completely wasted on me because I only play rhythm. But I plugged it in, and I was playing a lot. It was pandemic. We were all looking for stuff to do, and she was like, "If you don't turn that thing off, I'm sending you away forever." So I wanted to play, but you can't play an electric guitar without an amp. It sounds terrible. You can't hear it.
It sounds like this.
Yeah, so I tweeted something like, I'm dead, like she's gonna leave me. Sully saves my marriage and DMs me, he goes, here's my address, come to my house. Meet you tomorrow at 3 o'clock. I'm like, what? So I go over and walk in this living room, like 20 guitars later, he goes, take one. And I go,
please
well, how much do you want for it? And he's like, nothing, take it. So I'm looking around at all these guitars and I'm like,
What were they like? Strass, Martins?
they were,
Taylors?
so I walk up, there was one that was like bright green. He goes, this one is worth a lot of money. Take this one. But I looked right next to it and I saw this Gibson Hummingbird. And I go, I can have this? He goes, it's yours.
Wow.
I'm like, what do you want me to do? Do you want me to like dress up as
Get it out.
Little Bo Peep or something? Like, what do you want me to do? Because I'll do whatever you ask to take this guitar home. And I took it home, and Hannah was like, number one, thank God, because we can stay married. But number two, it hangs right behind my desk. I still play it all the time.
It's one of those guitars right there.
It's
right?
like that. It's absolutely stunning without all the signatures.
That's awesome.
It was just incredible, and I've always been so appreciative of that.
Well, I mean, for me, I love when there is a person like yourself. I've told you a million times, I'd like to get you on stage with us. I love when people are involved in music, but they don't feel like they feel like they need a leg up. Dude, get a guitar. Here, go. Start playing.
Go play.
Right?
Yeah, just go play.
You're talking about your lovely wife. What's her name?
Hannah.
Pretty interesting story about Hannah, because her father was an iconic, it still is, I would say, an iconic figure here in San Diego, much like Rusty Nails, much like Larry Himmel. Yep. Talk about that.
Lauren Nancaro is my late father-in-law, and it's so weird because I've got two beautiful boys. My firstborn is named Lauren Bo Woods, and we named obviously after him, but as hard as it is, we wouldn't have met, had he not passed away. It's a really weird story. She came into the radio station, the cluster of radio stations, and was interviewing with the country station down the hall. They're doing a fundraiser, but she was, as usual, 30 minutes early. And I was in there by myself on a Tuesday morning.
He said frustratingly.
No, I'm an hour early, so we're a perfect match. But the promo director popped his head. He goes, "Hey, Hannah Nancaro's here. She's early to interview with John and Tammy. Would you want to interview?" And I go, "Yeah, I've seen her. You can bring her in, absolutely." And she walked in the room, and I fumbled around like I'd never turned a mic on before. I was a wreck, but it was like love at first sight, and so we fell in love, and now we have 2 beautiful boys, and it's great.
That's awesome.
Well, it's great to see you.
And then you know what? I believe it's a God thing
Yeah.
because, like you said earlier, you know, Lauren passed away in December, and
Yeah.
you met her on a
February.
February.
Yeah.
I mean, he may
crazy.
have orchestrated that.
Yeah, it was you know, this dichotomy for her of losing the love of her life and then, you know, meeting me.
Remember the weathercast by the fire pit? Remember he used to do the weathercast by his fire pit?
The memory of him in our home, he's still obviously a really huge presence in our home, and my wife I'm not a gardener or a green thumb.
Clearly.
At all.
I know.
At all. So I know it kills her.
Because he's in the
bit.
he's in the Kalina Men's League baseball thing.
Exactly, man. I have other passions and interests. Her dad is famous for a quote: "Find your passions and explore them fiercely," which I take and I throw back in my wife's face every chance I get when she says, "Oh, you're playing golf again?" I go, "I found my passion. I'm exploring it fiercely." "Oh, you want to play baseball?" "I've found my passion. I'm exploring it fiercely."
You
That's
can have
what
more
I'm
than one passion.
That's
yeah.
exactly right. But, you know, for me now, my passions are my family and
God bless you, man. Good stuff. I love that.
Cool.
Can I ask you guys something? Just asking for a friend. Who wants to hear Tommy sing a song? Come on! Let's go! Yeah! Wait. Now, hold on a minute. Now,
I wasn't waiting for
on.
this at all.
Woodsy, I want to make sure you're playing.
Yeah.
In fact, my daughter McKenna, the artist here, maybe a pick guard.
Yeah.
Here, but I would like you to play this just because I want to make sure I've got it on
Yeah.
And I'll be taking this home with me today, just so you know.
Should Woodsy get on stage?
Yes.
Downstage?
Get
Get
up
on
there.
stage.
On stage? All right.
You're good. You got it.
Yep.
D, A minor, C, G.
Got it.
Which is also the combination to my iPhone and the gate to my house.
This song is sung in the key of A.
Anybody have a pick?
Ladies and gentlemen, the Steve Woods Band! Featuring Tommy Sablon.
I wanna live with the cinnamon girl. I could be happy the rest of my life with the cinnamon girl. A dreamer of pictures I run in the night. You see us together, chasing the moonlight, my cinnamon girl. 10 silver saxes, a bass with a bow. The drummer relaxes and waits between shows. The cinnamon girl.
Brian Jordan. Come on, Brian. Here we go, got a spot. Steve Woods. We'll see you guys in a second. On the air's on the air. Yeah. Kurt Bevacqua. Bob Chandler. Woodsy. It's the Tommy Show.
I do have a question. Mr. Chandler, every time we have a baseball player here or an announcer, they always have a cool baseball story. Do you have a cool baseball story?
Come on.
Got a few.
Or maybe a musical theater story, either one.
Think of the time I had to kill between Padre wins. We had a lot of.
Remember when Lightning
But you know, I'll never forget my first game televising for the Padres. This is over a half century ago. It's 1970.
Wow.
Padres are playing the Giants at Candlestick Park. It was in May, and a fella named Juan Marichal is starting for the Giants.
Wow.
After one inning, it was 8-0 San Francisco. with Marichal pitching. And I'm thinking, what am I going to do for 8 more innings? You know, although my color guy was Duke Snider, who was one of my heroes. I mean, remember in New York, you had Willie, Mickey, and the Duke. Willie Mays, Mickey Mantle, and Duke Snider. 3 great New York area center. So Duke is doing the color. So the speed forward to the end of the game, the Padres ended up winning 17-16 in 15 innings. Wow. The game took 5.5 hours. But as a broadcaster, what I remember most is that Duke left in the 9th inning to go down and do the post-game show.
And never came back. So in the days of old broadcasting, because we've been in the broadcast booth before, you may or may not have a special sippy cup with you on the air, like towards the 8th inning, right? Was there any imbibing? Like, did you guys, 15 innings, come on, have a little something.
Little nip.
No, that was for after the game. I mean, some guys, Howard Cosell would have a glass half full of, whatever. But what
Ben
we
Higgins drinks a fifth of vodka my co-host every day.
What about the weather that night?
It's always miserable in San Francisco. You know that at night. I love the city, but I hated Candlestick.
Yeah.
I can imagine being a player on the field. Whoa.
We got to ask about Jerry Coleman, right?
The best.
What was it like? I mean, were you ever intimidated? I mean, long story short, you two are the face of baseball broadcasting in my childhood, my life, up until now with Mud and
Don.
Thank you.
There are some miserable people in the business, but he's not one of them. Yeah. I had never met him. I knew who he was, but we got hired as the Padre broadcast team in 1971 for starting the 1972 season. So I meet him personally for the first time, and he couldn't have been better. I'm an absolute rookie. He's been doing Yankee games in New York, and working in Los Angeles when he came down to do the Padres, and he made it as easy as you could be.
So when he went back to coaching for a season,
managing.
Where were you?
I was doing some PR then for the Padres and some broadcasting. And I thought he'd be a terrific manager because he was such a good communicator, and he played on New York Yankee teams. You talked to his old teammates, and Jerry was the smartest one of all. I mean, they raved about him, how smart he was and whatever. But as he explained to me afterwards, he said, Bob, I thought I could do it, but I'd been away from the field too long. And the players had changed from the days when Casey Stengel was our manager, and he would say, sit, and we couldn't sit fast enough. Now I'd say, sit, and they'd say, well, now why do you want me to do that?
There was guys like Bevacqua coming up and telling you about Perez.
I was on that team.
Were you really?
1980.
Do you remember ever broadcasting or interviewing with Jerry?
He always came on the show.
And
Always said yes.
Do you remember, I remember at Kogo, we were the Padre station, and somebody called in sick that day, and Sully and Scooter were over 15 minutes ago. I was like, okay, well, you're taking this thing to transition. I'm thinking, here comes Jerry Coleman. I'm not shaking like Don Knotts at that point. I mean, sometimes, there's legacy guys like that.
Yeah.
Vin Scully, Jerry Coleman, and what's the other one? Bob Chandler.
Yeah.
Come on.
And speaking of that, Kurt, and speaking of big names, I mean, you were there in the 70s and 80s. Did you ever have a moment where you just couldn't believe it, like, oh my gosh, there's a Hank Aaron, or oh my gosh, there's a Willie Mays? Like, do you have a moment like that?
It's kind of weird to say, but I was teammates with 15 Hall of Famers.
Wow.
I mean, 15 guys. Hank Aaron sat right next to me in the locker room. Wow. Why I didn't steal all his stuff?
Well, I'm teammates with one, ladies and gentlemen. Hall of Famer Tommy Salon.
Most iconic guy that when he walked into the room, actually it was a toss-up between two, Frank Sinatra and Michael Jordan.
Wow.
Those two guys come in the room, they're different.
Both horrible hitters, by the way. As it turns out. What I have to say, it's been such a pleasure. What are you doing these days? Talk about your life post-baseball and what your
Right
passion
now,
is.
I am the executive director of Major League Baseball Retired Players Association.
Jeez.
Any resurgence of the podcast?
Now that I've seen the studio, you got plenty of room.
It's all yours. Where can we find you, buddy?
97.3 The Fan. Ben and Woods is our show, and it's still just a pleasure every day to get up.
What golf course do we find you on?
Well, frequently it's Coronado and Bonita and wherever, you know. We
God
can get a
bless
good
you.
start.
Bob Chandler. Woodsy. Bevacqua. On the air. Thank you guys so much.